So welcome back to another Inventor tutorial. This tutorial is going to be looking at more of the tools found within our 2D sketch ribbon panel. So let's jump straight on in and see where we end up looking at these different tools within the 2D sketch ribbon. So here we are. We're going to be looking at, like I said, the function or the tools found within our 2D sketch ribbon. So we're going to start a new 2D sketch, and I'll go with my XY plane, and I'm going to orientate it to the right orientation so that horizontal and vertical are correct. So like I've said, this is our ribbon panel. And many of the functions found within this ribbon panel will be familiar from AutoCAD. Again, like I've said before, a lot of the object snaps are now just contained within the predictions within the software. So for instance, if we just draw a normal rectangle, you can see then we've got the vertical object, so we're ortho to 90 degrees, and then we can just join that together. So we've got a sort of square. If we then wanted to do a circle, we could just join, we could use the object snap, and you can see the little yellow circle becomes green when it's snapped to either the end point or the midpoint. So we'll just put a circle in on that corner. Once we've done that, just hit escape. If we look at the drop down, we have different types of circles that we can draw. It's the center point radius type circle. We have the tangent to 3 lines circle, and then an ellipse. And within the line drop down, we have various different types of line, the spline, the interpolation splines. Majority of what we need will just stick with the line, and then within the circle drop down we'll stick with circle and ellipses. We do have the rectangle function, so we could just create a rectangle, and I'll just sort of add on to this rectangle that I've already drawn. And then in that as well, in the drop down here, we've got all sorts of different other useful types of rectangles, the various different slots and the arc slots, polygons, which are useful, different types of 2-point, 3-point rectangles, but relatively intuitive to work out where you might need to use those. We can always fillet our corners, and straight away we've got our fillet radius that we need to input. I'll put in 10mm for a minute, and then we just hit enter, and then we just come along, or let's try that again, sorry. Fillet 10mm, and then we'll just come along and we're going to fillet that the horizontal line and this vertical line, and it gives us a 10mm fillet. Once we're done, we can hit the X out of there. So within the fillet drop down, we've also got our chamfer. Within this 2D chamfer, we can do equal distance from the corner, unequal distance from the corner, and then a distance and angle. So if I click the unequal distance from the corner, then we can specify distance 1 and distance 2. And the bottom one gives us the distance and then the angle that we can use. Just for this one, I'll just go equal distance. Again, this time I'll do 20mm. I'll come over and I'll select the vertical and the horizontal, and you can see straight away it gives us the chamfer. Text, pretty much self-explanatory. A point, these center points are very, very useful when we come to put holes through components. They can be really useful in specifying the point at which we want to put a hole into our solid object. And then we've also got a create block, but we tend not to use that function very often. So move is relatively self-explanatory. Our copy, what we'll do is we'll select our copy object. The first thing we're going to do is select the object that we're going to copy. Then we're going to come across and select the base point, or the point at which we want to copy it from. So I'm going to use the center, and then we can drag it to wherever we want to copy it, and we'll just drag it back and put it back on the corner there. You may also you can do multiple copies however you want to here. Once you've done either, you can hit escape. Rotates, relatively self-explanatory. Trim in Inventor is a lot easier than AutoCAD because it just immediately predicts the bit you want to trim out. So straight away you can trim out all the different sections that you want to, and it won't let you trim out if it doesn't see that it can be trimmed successfully. The other one that we used a lot within AutoCAD was our offset, and again you just select the offset function, you come and select the object you want to offset, and you can either offset it a given distance or you can just move it around. If you want to offset it at a given distance, you just type in the distance and hit enter. You could then use the extend function to extend that line to the new circle. We'll extend that one out there. And then you could do a various number of other different functions. You've got your arrays here, so your circular and rectangular arrays, very, very similar to AutoCAD. And our mirror function, again, we would need to have a line that we're going to use for our mirror. But that's pretty much the panels for this tutorial. I'll go and finish the sketch now, and we can extrude the various sections. Now this is quite a complex drawing, so it's not really sure which one we want to extrude. So what we can do is we can actually select multiple objects to extrude, or we can just select one object, or if you get it wrong we can just go back and we'll select that object and that object, and you can do that relatively easily, and then we can just create this object extrusion to say 70 mil. We can then click OK, and as you can see the drawings disappeared as we said in the previous tutorial. So if we want to use it again, we can come across and we can then make the right click on it and make the sketch visible. What we can now do is we can come back to our extrude function and we can extrude what's left, but this time we can make it slightly smaller. So we'll do 30 mil. And what we have now is this new output window, or output option that's come. So we can choose to join it all together, which will join these three objects together. We can choose if one was cutting into the other, we could choose that one, and we can choose the intersect. Or, which is very useful, we can use the function start a new solid. And I'm going to do this because if I join all this, these three objects will be contained within this extrusion and we will only have one solid body. If I use a new solid, what will happen is that I'll end up with another extrusion from this two-dimensional drawing, and I'll have two solid bodies. So if I click OK, you can now see what we've got here is we've got, if we just open up the tree, We have solid 1, which was our first extrusion, and solid 2, which was our second extrusion. This is particularly useful when we come to creating our assemblies, or creating what we can actually do is we can extract the individual solids as individual parts from this, as long as they are individual solids. If we hadn't have selected that new solid, then we would only have one solid, and we wouldn't be able to then extract the individual solids into individual eye parts. So I can collapse all these down. We've obviously got the 2 extrusions here now. We can rename them if we want, and we have the overall sketch here. So we can turn off the visibility of the sketch now because we're done with it. And so we have one sketch that is linked to 2 extrusions. They're both contained within here, so we can edit either or depending on what we want to do. And also we have our solid, which if we open the tree up, you can see it comes down to extrusion 1 and then to sketch 1. And if we do solid 2, we have extrusion 2 linked to sketch 1. So it's really useful to be able to use Inventor like this to create multiple solids that at a later date we could extract into the single parts. So that's all I want to go through for this video. Please have a work around, try some different things, try to get used to the interface, and I'll see you on another tutorial.